a very powerful, hard-headed case to the arts that says that arts education, especially music education, today is not ornamental, but is fundamental, that we should be, for economic reasons, adding it rather than subtracting it. And I want to lay out this argument to you, a very simple argument, in the hopes that you can go out there and make this case in the places where it matters the most. And when I was a kid, and I grew up in a middle-class family in the middle of America, I grew up in Columbus, Ohio, middle-class parents, parents like mine, dished out the same basic plate of advice to their kids, and it went like this. Get good marks in school, go to college if you could, then pursue a profession that's going to give you some amount of economic security. So, if you're a kid like me and you're good at English, maybe you go on to law school. If you're better at math and the hard sciences, maybe you go become an engineer or an accountant. Because back then, if you made it into one of those professions, you were golden. You had a very solid foothold in the middle class. And even if, for our purposes here, even if you weren't in one of those professions, it was those sorts of abilities, the lawyer, engineer, accountant kind of abilities that mattered most. Those were the abilities that employers wanted. Those were the abilities that individuals were incentivized to develop. And we had this whole apparatus, a very, very effective apparatus, to try to build those capacities, starting in kindergarten, all the way through elementary, secondary school, 2-year colleges, 4-year colleges, graduate and professional schools, into companies themselves to try to build those kinds of capacities. That building those abilities was really what was central. Now, you could take music or art if you wanted to, but it was purely a side dish. It was purely a little bit extra. It was purely, you know, a cherry on the sundae. It was nice. Okay, we're not going to kind of object to it, but it's not really that important. But if you get all this other stuff done right, well, maybe we'll let you do that as well. Well, my argument is that those sorts of abilities, those what we might think of as left brain abilities, the logical, linear, sequential, analytical, step-by-step spreadsheet abilities that we had the economy built on in the final third of the 21st century, that those left brain abilities, call them the SAT abilities, the spreadsheet abilities, the abilities that around which our entire education system was built, those abilities, and I want to underscore this today, those abilities still matter. Okay? Those left brain, logical, linear, sequential, analytical, SAT, spreadsheet abilities today, and this is very important to underscore, are absolutely 100% necessary. Let me say that again. Those SAT left brain spreadsheet abilities are absolutely 100% necessary. Let me say that again. Those SAT spreadsheet left brain abilities are absolutely 100% necessary. You must have them. They are indispensable today. But while they're necessary, they're not sufficient. And it's now abilities characteristic of this hemisphere of the brain. Artistry, empathy, inventiveness, collaboration, big picture thinking. These are now the abilities that matter most in a hard-headed, pragmatic, economic way. These abilities, mastery of these sorts of abilities, are increasingly marking the fault line between who moves ahead and who falls behind in the economy. Now, I'll ask you a rhetorical question. Where does a young man or woman learn artistry and empathy and inventiveness and collaboration? In the arts. That the arts education now, I think, has become central, not ornamental, but fundamental to preparing kids for their future rather than my past.